I just did my first full Ironman in October at California. I started out as a runner, like many of us, marathons, and then like 2021 sort of started getting into triathlon. So I'd done 4 half Ironmans, and then kind of thought, well, maybe I watched him do Chattanooga with a downriver swim and was like, okay, the swim looked lovely. The rest of it, not so much. But that's my step. That's my rate limiting step. So, because I never considered myself a swimmer, but I can get through it. And so I just did California.
Great. And you're happy with the outcome, and
yeah, everything went really well. I think like just as well as it could have, which was amazing because like so much preparation. I think I was so nervous about all the stuff getting there and missing something crucial, something happening that day that you can't control, or mechanicals or whatever, and nothing bad happened, and we had like perfect weather.
And you killed the bike.
Thank you.
Yes.
it's a complicated sport for sure.
I peed 5 times.
Yeah, nice.
Not on the bike, but
Darn,
I got on the bike and peed 5 times.
And if you peed on
That'll
the
be
bike,
your
that's
next step.
Yeah, exactly.
You're not a true triathlete.
I know. I was like, ugh, should I?
I can't pee on Athena. That's okay.
You will.
And then Shelly and I work at the same hospital.
Yeah.
I'm a cardiologist. I'm a sports cardiologist. So I take
Which
care
is-
of professional to recreational athletes.
Which is perfect.
Yeah.
All right. Well, so I'm Jillian. I own BFF bikes. I also was a runner, and I was a bit of a cyclist. I did mountain biking, a bunch of mountain biking races. Never really did much road stuff, but I saw a friend of mine do Kona. I can't remember what year it was. Must have been in the I'm dating myself
The
here.
1900s.
The 1900s, yeah.
The other century.
Yes.
The prior.
And I was just like, one day, and likewise, not a swimmer at all, like in the least. I thought one day I want to do this because I saw how just amazing it was. Watching this event, it was just wow. And so fast forward, I moved to Chicago, met the Tri-Monsters, which Chris was a part of, and Joy and everybody here, a couple of people here. And I started training with them, and before that I just did some marathon training with them, and then I started training with the Tri-Monsters, and then I did my first half in 2007, so I did a few halves, and then in 2011 I did my first full, which was Madison. I did it with 14 other type 1 diabetic women, so that was a really amazing experience. We were Team Wild, Women Inspiring Life with Diabetes. I have type 1 diabetes. So yeah, I've done probably 9 since then, mostly fulls. Oh, maybe a couple of halves since then, but yeah, that was it.
Shelly? That's it.
That's all. That's all.
That's it. Started off, let me see, I was at Equinox, and then I joined FF's, that other place that we won't say the name. And I met you guys, joined Tri-Monsters 2012. Did my first marathon, Virginia Beach, 2013, sorry. Then did Chicago 2013, and then I thought, hey, why not triathlon? So then I think I joined the program for 2014. I think was my first year, or maybe 13. No, 13 was when I,
Doesn't really matter.
yeah, whatever. But did not finish my first Olympic, which was Chicago. I jumped out of the water at 200 yards because I freaked out. So then 2014 was when I finished my first sprint for Chicago. That's when he put a piece of tape on my swim cap he walked the wall and yelled at me the whole time.
I cheered you on.
Yes, cheered. Yes, motivated very loudly, yes. Minus the tutu. Yeah. Done a couple, or signed up for a bunch of full irons, didn't finish, but I've finished 2 so far, so. But I've finished, 13 or 14 halves. So half irons, marathons, made it to Sydney Marathon for this year, so I'm kind of excited, but not really. I am the only person that I know of that's made it into Sydney. Not even him.
You don't have to do it.
I know,
Okay.
yeah. I if he doesn't get a spot, then no, I don't want to, because I don't want to go back and forth. I mean, that's a haul. So, yeah.
It's only gonna go up in popularity, I'm
Yeah.
sure.
But you went to
If
Sydney
your
last year,
time
though,
goes
right?
out.
No, we went to Townsville. So I've never
Like
been to Sydney.
Australia.
Yeah, Australia,
Okay.
yeah.
So
So yeah, that's the
it's
problem.
not like
is-
you have to go to Australia again.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, we'll see. So potentially, 2 marathons and an Ironman, and maybe 3 halves.
This year?
Yeah. With other shorter races sprinkled in there.
I'm exhausted just thinking about it.
Yeah.
Okay.
I work with Allison.
So that's us. Yeah, you can say what you do.
Okay, I'm a cardiac sonographer.
Okay.
Okay, yeah.
So I read the studies that she
That I do, yeah.
performs.
Yeah.
Cool. That's
Yeah.
really cool.
Yeah, so far I've never gotten any kind of negative feedback, like, what the fuck were you doing?
Oh, what, sonographer one?
Yeah, to me, yeah.
Well, that's good.
I hope not, yeah.
Yeah, she's a lead sonographer.
I know.
She's terrible. Yeah. So are you going to ask questions?
Yeah, so let's make this just a fun, interactive, laid-back panel. If anyone has questions, if you want, I can give you the mic if you want to actually use the mic. If not, we can just kind of do it very informally. But I figured we'd ask each of you different questions, and also ideally get some at least one training tip and one racing tip from each of you as we go through this, because I know we have some people either doing their first Ironman or thinking about an Ironman down the road. So I think it'd be good to give them some thoughts and feedback. But before we jump into specific questions, does anyone have a question off the top of their heads that they want to ask? Anything specific? I'll go first. Yep. All right. So what I wanted to ask is, one, what type of training plan did you use in training for your first Ironman? Like what tool or how long of a training build-up did you do to kind of focus on your first Ironman? So maybe start with Allison, since you did the
Sure.
most recent one.
Yeah, for my halves, I trained myself with some program that I found online, which I think was harder for the first half than the training that I did for Ironman. I worked with his coach, who's Keith Klabacha, so it was remote.
I know Keith.
We all did we just did a Zoom meeting every 2 weeks, but it was 9 months, so I started in January basically for my October race. And we knew I didn't have to do too much swimming because it was going to be a downriver swim, and I said, I don't care about my time, I just want to finish, and I think I can do that. So that kind of, I was doing 1 swim a week for quite a while, mostly like standard stuff during the week, and then obviously the long stuff would build up. But at about the half mark, I think he started separating out the long bike from the long run, so that I could do, because I had a little bit of flexibility, and I could do a long run on Tuesday and the long bike on Saturday. So, I thought I would be doing the long bike, everything all on the weekend, and then it culminated in this epic weekend where you did sort of like a big swim, big bike, a little run, and then a longer run on Sunday. I think the whole thing was 10 hours total. So I was still that was a lot, but I was oh, I'm gonna have to do a lot more hours than that, and that was spread over 2 days. How am I gonna do this? But it worked out fine.
Do you know what your average training volume was as you were building up? You did 10 hours in a big
Hours,
weekend.
you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, I did look at this at some point. It was probably 8-ish, and then I got up to 10 or 12 probably by the end. I was never in like the 20, I don't think. I don't know.
Lucky you. For a half or for
No, for the full.
California.
I don't know, maybe.
Jillian, what about you and your,
Except for
let's
that last week, yeah.
let's go with maybe your
Yeah.
either, because you've done multiple Ironmans, either your first one or maybe your most recent one, if you used any
Yeah, I wouldn't go
specific
with my most-
training
My
buildup.
most recent was just off of prior whatever I did. I didn't train for it really. The first one I trained with TriMonsters, and I did multiple, like I feel like 20-hour weeks. We went to Madison
I don't know, maybe I
a
did.
lot. Like we were in Madison every freaking weekend. It was like you knew that thing turn by turn by turn by turn by turn. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, maybe I was a little. I don't know. I was definitely not overtrained, but it was a lot. Yeah. So swimming was just hard. I was not a fan, and I was not good. So.
And you used Training Peaks as your training plan tool
In 2011?
back in the day?
No. I had like a paper calendar.
Is that what you use? That's
Yeah,
what I
it was
use.
paper.
No, but like
Oh,
Training Peaks.
yeah.
Yeah.
I've never trained off of Training Peaks, ever, that I can think of. It's always been sort of willy-nilly for me. Maybe that's why I don't do very well.
Well, we should mention as your background being a little bit more of a cyclist, you did some ultra mountain biking before you got into triathlon?
Yeah,
If I'm
I
not
would say
mistaken.
mostly biking. I mean, I've done 20 I did 20 marathons before I did an Ironman. So, but I did do some 24-hour mountain biking races, and I think my mental. I think my strongest muscle is my mental capacity, because I'll just keep going. I've done like the Unbound gravel race 5 times and through very challenging times. But
So-
I think it's just like it doesn't matter how miserable I feel, I'm just gonna keep going.
Yeah, we used to call Jillian the honey badger, if you're familiar with the honey badger who doesn't care about anything, just keeps going, does what it does. It'll eat a poisonous snake and keep going and all that good stuff. And Unbound, that Jillian mentioned, is a 200-mile gravel cycling event that usually takes people 12 hours or more. So it's basically the equivalent of doing an Ironman, but you're just on the bike the whole time. And you did that 5 times, over 1,000 miles total.
But I got a really cool cup.
All right, how about Shelley? Either your first or your most recent Ironman, what training plan did you use and how long did you build up for it?
Well, the first was, Training Peaks. And then the most recent has been TriDot. Yeah, I like them both, but I think I really prefer TriDot over Training Peaks.
You paid to say that.
You'll pay me later. I really prefer TriDot over Training Peaks. I don't know, it's just more, I felt it was more accountable in a way. I mean, besides you're my coach, so. You know.
A little biased.
Yeah, exactly. So, I don't know, yeah. I'd say TriDot was the most recent. Yeah, and just each workout builds off of your current workout.
And how long do you feel like you built up for that Ironman? Like how long of a training season were you focusing on it?
Well, not long enough. For last year, because I signed up for Arizona in like July, which is kind of late. It's a mid-November race, so I only had 5 months, 4 months.
And
For an Ironman, it's not long enough.
Your prior one was California.
Yeah, that was like 9 or 10
Yeah.
months. Yeah. And same thing, didn't really do long swims because it was the current Then maybe a couple swims during the week. It was great.
And so one question, we'll go with Shelly and then we'll go back around. When you did your training, did you train mostly by yourself or did you train with a training group?
Yes.
And what did you like or prefer?
Depends on what you're doing. I mean, strength and cycling, I prefer to do it on a trainer unless it's out like the Joliet ride or Swedish Days, fine with that. But the lake path, I'm horrified of the lake path. I'm horrified of the streets, so I'll just stay inside. Running and swimming, I'm great with other people. So I'm both. Yeah, I don't really have a preference, I guess.
Jillian? Same question. Training by yourself, training with a group, a little bit of both.
I train a lot, but I think I'm more of a by myself person. I think I've always been that way. I've been really bad at team sports, so I've always been like, I don't want to like hold anyone back type thing. But if I have a group of people that I know and I'm very comfortable with, then I don't mind riding with them. Like I have some people that I ride gravel with that I've become very comfortable with, and so yeah, like running, I really prefer to run on my own. I'm not very good at conversation, so I don't know. I'm not.
Well, I guess training for an Ironman, you invariably end up doing a lot of training on your own, just because of the volume.
Yeah.
So it's pretty common to get comfortable doing it after you've done as many as you have. But Allison, what about you? Did you train by yourself, with group? Do you like a little bit of both?
It was pretty much mostly by myself. I have friends that do some bike rides, but most of the time they're going out a little bit later, and I'm stopping at multiple breweries, which doesn't really work for like a training ride.
So you're part of the Chicago Hash group, right?
So I mean, I pretty much did all of it by myself. We would go out occasionally, but he's faster than me at everything. So we wouldn't like ride next to each other for the most part.
I know what you mean.
But yeah.
And how about any training tips after doing your first Ironman or having done several? Do each of you have any, looking back, anything you would have liked to have known when you were training for your Ironman, and that you might have done differently, or something you did that you felt helped you that would be a good tip to pass on to others?
I think look at the website for the race you're doing and see what hydration and nutrition they're using on course. Train with that.
So
train your gut.
Know the nutrition on course and train with it to get familiar with it.
Yep.
Jillian, any tips?
Have as many friends and family out on the course as possible.
That's it.
It's amazing to have family and friends out there, because it just keeps you going. But other than that, I would say I'm kind of a huge fan of overtraining, not overtraining, but over distance. So the bike is 112 miles, doing 140 or 150 miles. I think psychologically that helps me. So.
I know, I think that first year you did your Ironman, we did a 5K swim, I think, a 3-mile swim for over distance, and 120-mile bike over distance.
Right, I did the, what's it called again? Leadman.
Oh, yeah.
Is that what you're talking about?
Not necessarily, but yes. No, just your peak training, the training plan and whatnot you followed, I think, for your first one, if I remember correctly. Mm-hmm. So a lot of Ironman, not all Ironman plans do that, but usually people will over distance train on the swim and the bike, but not on the run, just because of the high impact. But that's
I already had, I was already a runner, so I didn't really, and plus the Ironman run is, unless you're winning. I mean, Ironman run is so much different than a marathon, standalone marathon. So.
Yeah, Ironman is definitely more of a mental struggle once you get to the run than anything else. So I think that over distance tip is a good one for getting mentally ready for the race. But Allison, any tips that you have looking back? You just did your first Ironman last year, so anything fresh in your mind?
Fresh in your
It
mind.
was interesting working with a coach and said I knew I needed that because I felt like I couldn't just wing it for the full. Like I didn't want to do too much, but I also didn't want to do too little. So, he tailored it to my goal, which was to finish. I am not super fast. I'm not like the front of the pack. I'm not the back. I'm like solidly in the middle. So, we knew what my strengths were, worked with different like injuries along the way, but there were things that he would want me to focus on that I was like, like I never trained with heart rate. Like I never paid attention to my heart rate. I knew I would have to somewhat with this just to make sure I wasn't going too hard. So I did pay attention to that. That was kind of new for me in terms of like my training. And then the nutrition side of things obviously kind of harped that quite a bit because that can kind of kill you in the race. So like the one thing I felt like I had never really been stressed, and to be honest, I had not really trained structured marathon training with other people either for very much. I think I did one like Kara, 1 year with like Kara. But otherwise, like they talk about, electrolytes and whatever, but like I hadn't salt loaded, like not really intentionally, like really high salt content liquids or pills. So I definitely, that was another new thing for this because I think it changed, especially because the halves I'd done in the past were really hot and I kind of fell apart on the run no matter how much training I had done. And part of it was because I don't think I was hydrating or salt loading enough. It wasn't because I was going too hard, I don't think. It was just like I'd get off the bike, it was 85 and humid, and I'm like, I hate running in that even if I hadn't done the rest of the thing. So, and then this year when we did the half, which was halfway through my training, granted I was slightly overtrained, but I had been really intentionally doing that, and it wasn't fun to be running in that weather, which is what it was, but I completed it, felt much better on the run in general. So salt loading and nutrition. In my full, like, by the time I got to, so I stuck to the plan, he made me look up like how many calories and how many, ounces of fluid and and I am not like that type of person that's going to calculate everything. But I tried to sort of stick to it, and I felt like if I was peeing, I was getting enough hydration.
Yeah,
I peed 5 times.
right.
So that was good. But then by the time I got off the bike, like my stomach was a little bit iffy, but enough I could still run. I just didn't put a lot in it after that. I wasn't going very fast, so that was okay.
Yeah.
So being a sports cardiologist, focusing on heart rate and hydration, fueling, do you have anything specific like you feel was helpful or anything new that you learned that you would give to someone as a piece of advice, whether it's like anything on, salt loading, like you mentioned, or electrolytes, or any tip that you really felt helped on race day?
I mean, from the sports cardiology perspective, I don't think it's really necessary for that, but it is. I know it's funny that I don't train with heart rate because of that, but like I've been interviewed for magazine and other thing articles.
I'm sure
about heart rate.
yeah.
I'm like, I don't know. I'm sure look at it most of the time. But
I'm the same way. I'm not.
But it was. I mean, it's
not a
important.
number. I'm not a numbers person.
It's important to like know that you're, if you're doing too much. During that.
I think it's an interesting perspective to have because there aren't a lot of sports cardiologists that have also done full Ironman. I'm sure there's several out there, but you're definitely among a very few select that have a lot of good perspective on things from a heart health perspective. So
that is a good point, though. I mean, for people who are not like data driven, like I'm not even though I'm an accountant, I'm not data driven. I'm like, I think probably that's why is because I did that all day during the day, and I did not want to do that while I was training. And so for me, training was just about how I felt, and I would always run my marathons even like how I felt, and I always ran negative splits. I just was very good at sensing how my body was.
Oh, yeah, that's really good.
I was just kind of, I really was in tune with, I guess, what was going on.
Well, doing a lot of events definitely helps build that experience matters probably more than anything.
Yeah.
Cool. Any other tips that folks have?
Give up the microphone.
Yeah. So I asked all the lead-in questions, and now I want to turn it over to everybody else to ask any questions. I see Sarah over here with a big smile. Sarah, do you have a question?
I do. Well, first off, congratulations on all these milestones. It's like really badass. I mean, I'm constantly in awe, and I highly doubt I'm going to do that many in my lifetime. I keep saying I'm a one and done, but who knows what's in store.
That's what they all say.
You just got your bike.
Yeah, that's what they all say. Yeah, exactly. Wait till you get your bike.
So just wanted to take a moment and acknowledge that, because I've noticed in this sport coming into it a year ago is there's not that many women, at least that I know yet or have met. So it's truly like being able to see role models is like amazing. It's what's going to keep me going through all this. Like, I'm going to be another one. So I wanted to ask, and if this is too sensitive a topic to talk about, please feel free to say no. But I'm just get really curious about how you train around your menstrual cycle, how that impacts you at various, like, from the beginning when you start training and then as you're increasing your volume. So that's the broad topic in general I'd love to hear about. And just for reference, like I'm in my mid-30s, so, if you want to tailor it to, what your experience has been at a certain, like, age, that'd be awesome. So thanks.
Who wants to take that one?
Well, I'll take it. No big deal. So for me, no matter where I'm at in the training cycle, in the training period, period. The cycling and the running doesn't matter. The swim, depending on where, like day 1 or day 5, 6, 7, the last day, the first 5 days I won't get in the water because it's not pretty. So the last day, that's about the only day. And otherwise, at least in Training Peaks, TriDot, you can go in and you can customize, you can move your workouts around. So it's unfortunate that you have to move workouts, especially swim. That kind of sucks, especially for Madison because there's really not a current. It's not a river, so you really do need the swims, especially open water. But I mean, you have to move it to what fits you, what works for you. I've been doing that for years now, so yeah.
So what would you replace your swim with? Would you just flip-flop workouts? Would you do a
I would
different
call it
type of workout?
flip-flop workouts, but I'd try to work on whatever your weakness is, what you think your weakness is. For me, it's strength, and right now my run is just complete crap, just because of that sprained ankle and the arthritis. So, I mean, right now I'd love to hit more runs. My cycling, we've been cycling all winter, so yeah, but I would say work on your weaknesses.
And another tip I would give with that too is when you're flipping workouts, when you use tools like Training Peaks or TriDot or whatnot, they measure your heart rate stress, like your time and your intensity. And so when you need to flip workouts or not do a certain sport, you can just do the same volume and intensity in a different sport. That's the beauty of triathlon training. Anyone else want to touch on that?
I think one thing I would say is on the bike, just let it flow. Don't wear anything. Because I'm sorry. Yeah. Don't worry.
Yeah, I know, it's reality.
That's
what it is.
So if you watch a lot of the Ironman videos of the pros, they have them on the bike and you see them like dousing themselves with water bottles at the aid stations. Oftentimes you'll see them spray themselves in the crotchal region. And the announcers are always like, oh, they're trying to cool themselves down. It's like, nope. That might be something else.
Because the last thing you want to do, especially if you're on a super long bike, if you're out there riding 5-6 hours, you don't want to have to stop, change stuff or whatever. Just keep going and just, deal with it later.
Other than that, because I'm not a numbers person, I guess I didn't really pay attention much to what it did to like my heart rate or my performance, or I mean, my guess is it probably did, but I didn't really. I was more of a, okay, I've got a 2,000 yard swim. I'm just gonna do it. I mean, and I would just push myself through it. So whether or not, I was on my period and that caused me to be slower or not, I don't really know. Is what I'm trying to say, because I wasn't really that paying attention.
So you lived true to your nickname. You were just the honey badger. You just kept going.
Got your period? Honey badger don't give a shit.
Honey better doesn't give a shit. Keep going.
Any other tips on that?
And now I don't have to worry about it because I'm postmenopausal and things are shit. And I've gained 15 pounds and none of my clothes fit me. And anyway.
Where's the wine, damn it?
Yeah. Sorry.
Any other follow-up questions or other questions?
never got a
Or
chance to.
Allison, I don't know if you want to add anything to it or
Talk
not.
about your period.
Yeah, I know. In front of the crowd.
I know, right?
Broadcast outside of
Look at the
Place.
camera when you talk about your period.
I don't. So Marina IUD, you don't necessarily get a period, so I
yeah.
don't have to deal with it, which is really nice.
There's one thing
I
I
don't
would
even
watch
know.
for.
I don't
Yeah.
even know if
I
the
know, I
hormones
know.
are doing something in there.
Yeah.
You don't even have to worry about it.
Yeah.
And that's one thing I would watch for too, is the more you train, you may not be as regular as you were, and it may be a little bit lighter than you normally would have been. So if you can pay attention, I never did, but.
Yeah, and I could tell for me, it's like the week leading up before and even the week of, I'm exhausted all the time. So all workouts are just complete shit. So it just doesn't matter really. So I don't bank too much, not hope, I don't know the word I want, but I don't worry about it. Because the next week you're just back on your normal workouts, so.
I think one mentality approach to a lot of Ironman training that we give a lot of people is, with the amount of volume you do for a full Ironman, if injury or something else, hormones, emotions, anything throws you off one day, we tell people to just skip the workout, pretend you did it, and continue on, and don't try to make up or cram for missing workouts. And that, I think that mentality kind of can carry over into race day too. Like something goes bad, just keep going.
Mm-hmm.
Just pretend it didn't happen and just take things one step at a time. And I can tell in your answers that's kind of like the mentality that you have developed by doing an
Yeah, you
Ironman.
have to.
Cool.
Does that help?
Yeah, I think so. Any other thoughts, questions? Anyone? Fred?
Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Becky sitting next to him and throat punch. And Joy can throat punch him in.
No, triathletes are just natural storytellers. So I think I'm going to ask you a question that'll let you tell your story. I'm going to limit this to full distance Ironman. Do you have any memorable uh-oh moments and any memorable oh yes moments? The uh-oh moments are like, nobody told me this was going to happen, or
I have a great uh-oh moment.
and then oh yes, it's when like everything's going great, like you never dreamed it was going to be this good. So any memorable oh and oh yes moments?
We would call that a fuck yeah.
Fuck yeah. I don't think I've had a fuck yeah one.
Crossing the finish line, I think you did.
Well, yeah, crossing the finish line is very much fun. Yeah, that was, yeah. Well, it didn't help that the announcer lady's like, oh, Shelly Nathan, and with, what'd she say, 1:32 to spare, or something like that.
And you were like, I meant to do that.
No, my favorite's when you broke my toe.
I meant to do that.
That was your own shit.
My oh shit. Yeah, Des Moines. Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you don't remember? Walking into the water, I step on a rock and my foot goes that way, so my pinky goes back that way. Yeah.
Oh God.
Yeah, it was awful. I made it to mile 70, I
What
think.
about the uh-oh moment? I mean,
Well, that was the big uh-oh. That was the uh-oh moment. Yeah. Yeah. I haven't put myself, no, I have kind of sharded myself. But yeah, it was definitely the toe was the uh-oh moment. Yeah.
Finish line, I guess.
Yeah, the finish line.
Okay.
Yeah, I was like, woo! Yeah, I think Maryland, because I finished behind Becky, but in front of Fred. Because
Okay.
he's like, oh, I've already done this a bunch of times. And Seth was in front of Becky.
So we paced,
Yeah.
paced ourselves 30 seconds apart.
Yeah, yeah. And I remember the last, what was it, just the last 5K, Fred kept coughing and he's like gagging, so he's like, oh no, you did that after we finished too.
Yeah, during the run, dude.
So we're over there in front of that Ironman background, we're taking pictures, and then he starts coughing, he's like, here it comes, here it comes. So he runs to the side, and Chris is over there. Of course, he already finished. He went back to the hotel, showered, took a nap, ate dinner, had a 5-course dinner. It was like 5 hours later, he comes back out, and he's like, well, where's Fred? And I'm like, oh, he's over there throwing up somewhere.
I was still your AFib patient.
Yeah, at that point, it was way before your ablation. Oh, sorry, that's a HIPAA violation.
No, it's not if he says it.
Oh, okay, that's true. Okay, yeah. Never mind, yeah.
I'll say for context, for people who don't know the race that you guys are all talking about, Ironman Maryland, the 3 of these folks right here all
Forgot about that
got
part,
together on the run. They ended up kind of catching up to each other at various points, or they were together on the run or on the bike
Like at the
for
very
pretty much the whole
last-
thing.
yeah,
And
the
then
very-
on the run, they combined forces and they kept each other going. So like whenever I saw them, I saw all 3 of them real close together. And you guys, I think, fed off of each other, right? To kind of hold each other accountable on the run to keep moving.
Fred kept farting, and I'm like, I gotta get away from that. So
As we get out.
I was like, I gotta get in front of that.
Again, it was because I was an AFib patient. Causes friends, I think.
Okay, I've scanned tons of AFib. That's what I'm like,
A sports cardiologist has confirmed, Fred. That's not an excuse.
Your doctor is right here. No, but then also with him in the swim, because it was in the Chop Tank River, that was the year that the water was so warm, there were millions of jellies. So we were all stung so many times. I was stung like 80 times. Yeah,
No, thank
at
you.
least.
No, never.
So that was actually going to be one of my follow-up questions, is going to be based on the races that you guys have done, whether you had aha moments or uh-oh moments on any specific race. Are there any races that you've done that you would recommend or not recommend for various moments
I'd
that maybe
still
play
totally
into answering Fred's question about the aha or uh-oh moment? Yeah.
Yeah, they didn't answer.
So Jillian next.
Gosh, I feel like there's a lot of uh-oh moments, but
And if anyone needs food or drink, feel free to grab stuff. Because your most recent Ironman was one that they don't have anymore, right? Ironman Alaska.
yeah. I think the biggest uh-oh was one of the Arizona ones I did, and my insulin pump was not working, and I had to DNF, which was the first DNF I'd ever had, and that was really upsetting for me. There was nothing I could have done about it. If I'd gone on, I would have died. So, yeah. And I will tell a funny story though, but a funny uh-oh moment was when I did my first half Ironman, and I didn't really know anybody. I wasn't really training with anybody, and I was wearing this like full tri-suit, and I had gone into T2, and I put like cookies and pretzels in my pockets, and when I went to go and try and eat them, they were all mush because it was all wet, and so that was not my finest moment.
Did you still eat them?
No, no, it was just like a hot mess. It was why I wouldn't have thought of that. I have no fucking idea. But that was pretty funny. I did buy my bike like 2 days before that half Ironman, so that was not something I would recommend, but it worked out okay.
And now you're a bike shop owner. Allison, any aha or oh yeah moments?
Well, I'm gonna tell a story that was from a half because it's funny. But so in Madison, when I was going through so out of the swim T1, and I got like everything ready. I don't wear a tri-suit, or wasn't wearing a tri-suit or a swimsuit, and then I would like change in the transition. And so I got everything set, and then I'm like rolling my bike all the way down this long transition aisle, and I realized I forgot my like Aquaphor anti-chafing to like wipe it everywhere. So I'm like, someone will have something. So I go down the aisle, and I'm just looking at people's stuff. And I'm like, okay. So I get to the end, and there's this tub of stuff, and I was like, I'm doing it. And I just grabbed something, and I like smeared it all over myself, you know, for the bike seat area. And then I get on the bike, and I was like, it was like icy hot. And I'm like laughing, but also
crying.
Oh my God. And it took about an hour for it to like wear off. And I keep laughing to myself thinking, like, Paul's gonna find this hilarious.
Oh, yeah.
To tell him. And then meanwhile, he gets stung by a bee and almost dies, has an anaphylactic reaction.
Oh, no.
Has to go to the ER. So that by the time we're all like out of this, like my story was like, I'm not even gonna.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna tell you.
It doesn't seem quite as bad as
he lived.
Yeah.
And got himself out of the ER early to come watch me finish. Yeah. So it was.
Yeah.
It was.
for everybody.
And the only thing that I'd say from California was like the thing I was really worried about was they told you when the rivers meet each other that the second river, so the Sacramento River, is quicker and colder, but you have to get around this buoy
They told us the
before
same
you
thing.
before you like, or else you might get
Swept away?
disqualified. If you went in front of it and then you started to go this way, you're gonna have to fight for your life to get
Shut
past
up.
it. So I was so worried about this.
Yeah, I would have been
I
too.
can't see particularly well through my goggles, and I was like, so I had this all in my head, and I'm like, I am staying over, so like stay to the right, so you
So
can get
far
around
over.
it. So I get up there, and then there's a kayaker guy who was like, just go. And I was like, not just going. Like, I don't want to get disqualified at this stage of the race. So I was able to go get around it, but I learned that like later the thing was like floating. It was moving.
Oh.
So they ultimately they didn't care about that. They didn't like disqualify anybody for not going in front of it. But it was really far out in the thing. And like there was a guy who I was standing there with before the race who was someone who normally wears glasses who didn't have his glasses. It was like, 'cause he put them on the table and was like just wearing his goggles. And I was like, I would be so concerned if like I had to look out for that. It all went fine, but that was my main stressor. I think every aha, like other than finish lines, is like every time I finish the swim, I'm always like,
Yes.
I know, right?
Seriously, it's like
especially my first
terra firma.
one.
Yes.
My first half, because
exactly.
That was like, by the time I got to this one, I felt like I figured I could do it, but it like the first half, I was like so happy.
Oh my God, yeah.
I did it in a time that wasn't terrible. It was like a flat lake, or it was a reservoir. I did Muncie, and it was actually choppier than I thought it should have been. But when I got out, I was like, nowhere near the cutoff time.
I know.
So a common.
I was elastic. I think it was pretty much elastic out of the water in Alaska. And
How cold was it?
it was 53, 54. Yeah, it was. Yeah, and I just hadn't trained, and I didn't have. Yeah, it was just off, and it was probably Alaska out of the water. My swim was terrible. I was just like, ugh. And and I sat in that friggin' change tent, and I was like. And I sat there, and I was like trying to remove my stuff, and I was like trying to put my other, and I like went out to get my bike, and like, there it is. Like, no problems at all, because everybody else's bike is gone. so embarrassing. But I mean, who the fuck cares? I mean, whatever. But it was just like, oh my God, this is terrible.
So I think a common theme I'm hearing is, one, make sure you know your nutrition and practice with your nutrition for what you're doing on race day, whether it's pretzels in a Ziploc bag that might get sweaty and turn into mush, or just using what's on course. And also the gear and being ready for the different weather conditions. Because I know at least at some Ironman races, the California got cold and rainy. People got hypothermic there. Arizona, you think a desert is hot and it can be really, really cold overnight. And I know that's usually one thing I give as advice to a lot of athletes is think about, what race you're doing and look at not just the daytime high temperature of the day, but, can it rain? Can it get cold? Can it get windy? And be ready for anything. But,
Ooh, can I add?
Yeah.
Your meal the night before your race. Make sure you don't go somewhere that makes you sick.
Yeah, a lot of athletes like to have consistency with the pre-race meal.
Fred and his Chipotle.
Well, if you pick something
I know, right?
or these Domino's where they have the same pasta meal everywhere in the country, if you know that works for you, then if you're supposed to don't try anything new,
Yeah.
So why would you just let it go to a whim of some restaurant you've never tried before? You got to go with the chain restaurant.
Yeah, so maybe in training, have the meal the night before your big training day that would mimic what you would do potentially on race day, so you're used to it.
Just do it like 2 nights in a row.
Yep.
Yeah, maybe just a bags thing, because the bags are different than the halves.
Oh yeah.
Like all the whole system is a lot different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so kind of familiarize yourself with what your steps are going to be.
Mm-hmm.
And then for the the midway bags, what are they called again?
The
Special
personal
needs.
needs.
Special
Yeah.
needs, yeah. So the
Personal
bike one
needs.
I never
Personal
got. I
needs.
just tossed it, but I
Yeah.
made sure I had some extra stuff in there that wasn't anything I really needed.
Yeah.
But I asked them ahead of time for the run one, because I was like, I want to put everything but the kitchen sink in this bag, because I had friends that had DNF from because they were way too cold and it had rained, all the stuff. So I was like, I want to make sure I have all of those things in there, even if it's just disposable stuff. But I also did something slightly risky and I had some fancy shoes, and I didn't want to throw those away but I hadn't trained super hard in them, so for super long in them. So I asked them, can someone else get my bag? And they said yes if they have your ticket. In this race, at least, it was easy enough because everything's right there. So I was able to make sure, because I would have just thrown my old shoes away if I didn't need those, but they have orthotics in them and they don't fit in the new shoes. But I took the gamble, and halfway through, I wanted to make sure I was okay in these. I switched to the other shoes, and they're just bouncy and fresh, and it wound up working out.
Running shoes or?
Yeah,
Oh.
running shoes, and I was able to, the carbon plated fancy things, even
Oh,
though I
yeah.
wasn't going very
Yeah.
fast, but they were
Yeah.
very bouncy, and it was nice to have something different on
Yeah,
my feet.
yeah.
And I was able to give my old shoes with the orthotics to him, and all the other stuff that
Nice.
I put in there that I do just in case. I had extra layers. I had,
Yeah.
you
That's why
head
our
layup. I had, all of those kinds of things.
Tums, ginger ale, just in case on the run your stomach is nasty and you can't take anything. Tums and ginger ale. The ginger ale will be warm, but still, doesn't matter.
Yeah, we got all of our athletes polled one time and asked them what they put in their gear bags during an Ironman. So we put together a very comprehensive list of anything and everything you could think of to put in your gear bags,
Remember
because that
what
is
Fred put in one of his?
something a little different at Ironman versus.
Oh, so close, but
what
your
was Fred?
frosting.
Oh yeah, Duncan Hines or Betty Crocker frosting.
At least
Yeah.
The
Zing-
tub of frosting,
What
yeah.
else, right?
Yeah.
Zingers, Twinkies. We've had people put Arby's sandwiches
Do
and
not
all
do
different things
A Snickers bar.
in their bags.
Will melt.
It will
Yeah,
not,
that's
it looks like a
if you're doing a
toad,
full
yeah.
Ironman, that's
Yeah,
something
it's pretty
new to
nasty.
be aware of, that you don't have a transition area. You get bags, so all your gear for T1 goes in a
Sitting in the
bag.
sun all
your
day.
gear for T2 goes in a bag. And depending on the race, at Wisconsin, everything's indoors, but some other races, your bags stay outside.
Well, except the
So
bike bags.
they can get rained on
The
and
special
whatnot.
needs.
And then they have
yeah.
personal needs bags, which you get, you drop it off in the morning, and the race takes it and drops it off at the halfway point of the bike, and another bag at the halfway point of the run. So if you want to change shoes or put fresh socks on or have anything special, people put all sorts of fun things in those. I remember one of our athletes who volunteered, she said, an athlete
mustache?
came up with, on the bike course, the halfway point, and asked for his special needs bag. They gave him his bag. He reaches into it. He takes his mustache off, puts it in the bag, takes another mustache out of his bag and puts it on. He changed from a brown mustache to a blonde mustache in the middle of the race. And that was all he did at special needs. He just took off at that point. So people do weird things, but yeah.
But is this always the case that they normally just throw it all away because they told
Yeah.
us they were going to throw it
Yeah,
all
that
away?
a long time ago they used to give you your bags back.
I thought
but
I was like,
yeah.
we pay you $900. You should give us our bags
Yeah.
back because you're just sitting right here. But no.
Yep.
I went from having my special needs bags like packed to the gills, like I don't even know what I put in there, to like now I'm like it's like one or two little things, and
Fair.
that's it. Yeah,
Yeah.
All right. Any other questions?
So I have a couple, but feel free, take your pick. For those of you who have raced Ironman Madison, the full, I'm curious to hear, a high and a low about that, or a do and a don't. And then the second question that I have is, as someone who is weakest on the bike, fill in the blank.
Yeah, do a lot
That's easy.
of,
That's easy.
yep, I know what she's going to say already.
Ride
Yep, and Madison.
a lot.
Yep.
Just ride a lot. If you haven't been starting to ride now and
Yep.
a lot.
Yeah, the Ironman generally, I think on average, people spend 50% of the day on the bike. And so training volume wise, sometimes people should
I'm sure
allocate
Fred
50%
probably
of the
has
training to that.
the course recorded somewhere. Yeah, so
And then I need to know if my mind wants to know, because I want to know, because you're still here in front of me, totally looking like you maybe never had a bike crash. But that is like my biggest fear. So if you did have a bike crash in your Ironman, what do you do? Like, oh my gosh, it just seems so terrifying. So that's the third question. And I'm done.
I think it depends on the bike or the crash.
I didn't have a crash in Ironman, but I've had a crash in training. I mean, it depends on how bad it is, the crash. If you can get up and keep going,
Keep going.
keep going.
Yeah, we've known people that they've been taken away in ambulances. I had a fall, but it wasn't during a race. But get up, keep going. Yeah, you got to be really careful.
You're gonna have some downhills that have sharp turns.
Yep.
You're gonna have to
Yeah.
pump the brakes. So
Yeah,
don't be afraid to pump the brakes on the downhills. Some people like to go fast.
yeah,
That's where the crashes happen. So
yep.
she's actually very good at it, of course.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, there's just one downhill. Garfoot is my nemesis. I have such a mental block on it now. I'm lucky I can drive it. It's so bad. He laughs at me. Yeah, I can't bike it anymore.
in crash practice, Chris?
Yeah, that's such
Yeah.
a thing. No, really, I've heard
Honestly,
I've heard recently from some cyclists that you want to, if you know you're going to fall, you want to make sure you fall, like, with your bike and over it and, like, kind of, like, lock in. You don't want to be like, oh! You want to, like, lock in and fall with it, like, especially if you're going for speed. So, this is, like, the stuff I'm really going to dig into in my training. It's, like, how do you fall? It's like, do you stop, drop, and roll? Like, I don't know.
Usually you don't have time to think, so it usually happens pretty quickly. That's what your helmet's for.
Yeah, one of the best things you can do is if you have never done a bike handling skills clinic, do a bike handling skills clinic, because just learning how to recover from being unbalanced, how to recover from bumping into somebody, how to protect yourself from falling.
Into somebody?
Yep.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
we'll
Riding
do a special bike handling skills
That
clinic
one.
for Sarah, but BFF does bike handling
We'll do a
skills
skills
clinics.
clinic,
So
yeah.
shameless plug, but
Yeah.
get on the BFF events calendar and look for upcoming opportunities. I would also highly recommend the Fix a Flat clinics, learning how to fix your own flat tire, as we see an ad pop up for one. But yeah, any other sage advice or things that you three would recommend someone consider
All I
doing
could
as part of
say
their training
is
season?
A lot of the downhills in Madison, not to jinx anybody, but it's unfortunate if you do crash on a downhill, you're probably not going to get back up.
Yes, you will.
I felt like I started to like you.
That's Joel.
Oh,
Come on in, Joel. Speaking of Ironman, the Ironman.
man.
We're wrapping up with our final questions.
I feel like I got this comfort level in riding indoors, and like I didn't mind doing the long stuff, like multiple hours indoors. And in a way,
painful,
it's
but-
obviously good for your training your legs because you're not going to get the same type of consistent hard workout or hills in here. Unless you're driving to Madison and doing that course, which obviously you can do, but that takes a lot of time. I am not the type of person who's like going to drive up there and spend another like 5 hours and all this other stuff and board my dog. So like I would rather just knock things out inside. But there's something to be said for also definitely doing some longer rides outside just so that you can get used to the things that otherwise happen. And I had like gotten real comfortable doing all the long rides inside, and then late in the game I kind of did one outside at Centennial, like just went back and forth. And I was really happy I did, just because it's just different because my neck was not like trained enough
Totally
to be in
different.
that position for so long. I know you're not going to be in like aero bars, but I was glad I had done that closer to the race, just a few hours, like, because on my trainer, even if I usually sit up a lot more and I'm watching television and it's not the same.
It's not the same.
So it's just like training my neck to stay this way, because that's like something for me that gets really tired.
That's an interesting point for right in Wisconsin. How much, I think a lot of people debate this every year, how much do you do in aero and how much do you not do in aero on Wisconsin course specifically?
I don't do a lot of
Do you
aero
take
in
the uphills
Wisconsin.
and downhills or an arrow? Like I'm sure there's
Downhill.
You only do
See,
downhill.
I'm not gutsy enough to
Well,
do
if you're doing the
downhills in aero.
uphill, there's no benefit really.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
It depends. Like some downhills are
Yeah.
technical you don't want to be in
No.
aero position for, but yeah, to go faster, you stay in aero.
But there's a
on
lot of
downhills.
flats. I mean, there's a fair amount of flats you can.
I would say two skills, bike handling skills to work on specifically for a course like Wisconsin is learning counter steering, which is how to take turns fast and how to hit the apex, how to lean into turns. So there's a couple technique things you can do with that. So I'd say that's a good one. If you're worried about crashing, bump drills where you actually ride next to people and bump elbows, rub elbows, bump heads. It's part of bike racing skills.
I have a good suggestion.
And anything that builds confidence.
Buy a gravel bike. All of
Hinty,
you.
hint, hint.
Wait,
Everybody?
I'll be taking orders after this.
Special 10% discount tonight only.
No, I'm serious. Buy a gravel bike and do some gravel races, and then your handling skills will be like.
But
Yep.
All right, Jimmy.
No, buy a gravel bike.
no.
Ride anywhere in the city.
Yeah, no.
On a course like Madison, like Wisconsin, I wonder, and I have an opinion on whether someone is more likely to fall high speed going downhill versus low speed
Going
going
uphill.
uphill.
Low speed
You never
uphill
know.
That's so
crashes. Yep.
Barbell.
I don't borrow, damn
Yeah,
borrow.
that's- that-
I would bet that if someone's gonna fall, barring bad weather conditions, it's gonna be someone that doesn't hit the hill right and legs lock up. And they have the no motion
Yeah.
fall.
Yeah, I'd say every year when I hear from people and hear of crashes, and we know a lot of the officials, and we know a lot of the Ironman staff, so we hear oftentimes about people who've crashed and whatnot. And I'd say it's probably like a 5-to-1 ratio of people who fall on the uphills more often than people who are falling on other parts of the course.
Tipping over at 0 miles per hour.
Yeah, exactly. It's just like, crap.
I would say, and this could maybe be our way of wrapping up, but if anyone has any other questions, I always encourage people to think about when you're training for an Ironman, it's really about using the training journey as an opportunity to do hard things and to build confidence as an athlete, or technical stuff like on the bike. People learn how to fix their first flat tire when they train for an Ironman. They learn how to climb for the first time. They learn how to descend on a bike for the first time. And that's really what the Ironman journey is about. It's not just doing the Ironman on race day, but that whole experience that you're going to go through that'll shape you for years to come.
Test your mental skills.
Yep.
As an ambulance passes by.
Of course, yeah. Naturally.
We can tell what Sarah's biggest fear is for an Ironman. But anyone else have anything else final to add? Any questions? We'll probably wrap it up here. I will say a couple of quick things too. If you're not part of a Ironman Tri Club, if you're doing your first Ironman or half Ironman, affiliate with a Tri Club. So if you're part of Chicago Tri Club or BFF or our Tri 312 group, that's how you get a lot of special team perks and get the invites to register for things in advance and a lot of other nice perks. We also did a webinar. I'll have to ask Joel for the recording for.
It's on the Ironman YouTube channel.
Oh, it is? Ooh, okay. So you can watch me blab on for Ironman-related topics for an hour. We did a webinar on 70.3 training. We did another webinar on Ironman training last month. Those are both available as a recording. I'm going to skip our little promo videos, but there's a lot of good information on the Ironman website, and I'll wrap it up there. But if you don't have a training plan, TriDot that Shelley mentioned, shameless plug, is the official Ironman training plan tool. And you can get a two-month free trial on it. It really is the best, designed tool specific for half and full Ironman. So if you're looking for a place to get started, that's always a good place to have as your starting point. Oh yeah, and another shameless plug. Joy, let's see, where do we have that somewhere? I'll leave it here. So there are Strava pages, BFF Bikes and Tri 312. So we'll post events, group rides, fun runs, and whatnot on those. So feel free to follow those, including what Joy just mentioned, the upcoming TriDot Pool School, the official swim training program of Ironman. We're doing a 2-day, 2-half-day swim camp out by O'Hare Airport in Bensonville at the Water Edge Aquatic Center. And if anyone signs up for that tonight, I have a bonus sign-up perk, a free centerline snorkel and swim fins. So some equipment to help you get started. And also one final offer that we were doing for Julian's Bike Shop. If you purchase a pair of the Form Swim goggles, where you can get your workouts right. I just used that this morning, actually. I was following my workout in my eyeball. It popped up with all my intervals while I was swimming. You can get a free month of swim training with us downtown at Lakeshore. So if you want to take advantage of any of those offers, or I think Jillian plugged a few other special discounts. If anybody needs anything, shop now or forever hold your peace.
Well, I said it was continual.
Oh, no, yeah.
If you just mentioned you were here, then you can get the discount.
Mention Honey Badger. That's the code word.
Yeah, the code word.
So coming soon, all of Ironman North America courses will be up on Strava.
Oh.
And you can access that through all the race pages at Ironman.com.
But not-
in the next 16
Nice. And a
Not
lot
on
of them.
Ruby?
I'm sorry?
Not on Ruby?
Oh, it'll be on Ruby too, for
Okay.
training. But if you're somebody that just wants to see what the course is, we'll have actual Strava maps of our bike courses up as part of the new partnership.
Because I'm waiting for full Florida, but there's just Haines City. So.
You mean Ironman Florida? It will be up,
Okay.
that bike course.
Okay.
So, yeah, we're working on it right
Okay.
now.
The full 112, right?
I just put it
Because it's
on
just like one.
Midwest races up on Strava.
Oh,
so we're
well,
working
yeah,
on
that's
it.
definitely not Midwest.
Oh,
That's definitely not
and
Midwest.
if you're looking for something to do tomorrow morning, Joel has a trail run out in the burbs. Also, and this will be our final thing, our indoor triathlons are open for registration. And for anyone who came here tonight, if you want to sign up for our next indoor tri, which is next weekend,
Brittany,
Sunday,
congrats.
March 2nd, I will give you a special
try.
exclusive one night only $44 off discount from 4-Star Endurance. So if you want to register for that event, let me know, and I'll give you a special code before you leave.
Present.
Where is that one in the city?
Downtown, yep, right downtown. Yep. So. Cool. I think we'll wrap it up at that. Yeah, thank you, speakers. Thank you, Allison. Thank you, Jillian. Thank you, Shelley, for being our panelists for the evening.